Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and a brand new video on Dungeon Hunter Champions. Just to get it out of the way, this video is sponsored by Gameloft in conjunction with Dungeon Hunter Champions, this game I'm playing here. And if you're not familiar with what this game is, then let me explain it to you. Dungeon Hunter Champions is a free epic online RPG game. Team up with thousands of players, compete in live PvP, collect and power up over 250 champions, and face massive raid bosses in an epic campaign. And if you want to be part of this amazing action, then go to the link in the description and download the game today. So just to put it out there, I have been playing this game for the last month, a little bit on and off. There's been a lot of other games I've been playing, but I have been enjoying what I've been doing so far. To give you an idea with the adventure side of things, I'm up to board 5 and I'm enjoying the progress that I'm making. I've also been developing my team that is going to take me through difficult content as we go through. And there's been a few times it hasn't worked out quite so well, but it's getting the understanding of like who is good for what purpose and how the team works together with different classes and those kind of things. So to give you an idea, Spearman is one of my top ones, as well as Boon Sister. We've got Bounty Hunter, and finally we've got Astromancer. A combination there, not an amazing combination, good enough to kind of have a tank, a healer, a mage, and another fighter. So it's a good combination. It's not perfect. That's something I really need to learn. And what I'm going to do in this video is just pass off the things that I've learned in a kind of a sort of beginner's guide to the game. So stay tuned for tips and hints that are going to help you through the very beginner stage of this game. Let's begin with what should you start off first? What should you grind out? What's the best thing to grind out first? The answer is the adventure. It's the perfect place to start, whether or not you start on round 1 and progress through, even to go as far as repeating these things over. As you'll see when you go to like the reward section of this, possible rewards that you could get, there's going to be helpful things. And the great thing about it is if you remember to log in each day, and that's one thing, if you can't grind out every single day, then make sure you're in to collect your rewards. Energy bonuses are really helpful, as it means that you can get back in and do loads of these different things on repeat. As you can see, a battle takes up 3 energy. And as you can see right at the top there, I've got 638 energy that I've got stored up. So that's great. I can re-grind out stuff. If you find that you're progressing through and finding, hey, this is becoming a bit difficult, I'm finding it hard to get to the point where I can't get through, and I have reached that point. This particular quest that I'm on here, this scenario 2, this kind of like arena battle, I actually got stuck on today at the point of recording this video, just before. And I was like, oh, right, what should I do then? I've reached a point where I need to get better characters. I need to improve the champions more. So what should I do? And the answer will probably be go back, re-repeat, try and get the better rewards in order to get levels up and also increase the gear strength as well as the champions themselves in order to do the harder stuff. And that is a scheme of things I think a lot of players find when they start off in the game. As you know, when you progress on with the adventure board, you also have boss raids, and on boss raids you have different levels of difficulty of the enemies you're going to go up against. Currently for me, Elder Drake at level 4 is a bit too much of a stretch, but when they're lower, like for example here, it's only the first step, this seems much more possible to do. Next up, let's quickly talk about the dynamic of boss battles. And one thing you should really know is that right at the very beginning, so the lower levels, it's going to be really easy. And as they progress on, they get a little bit harder each time. That's why the higher level you are, the better you're going to. One thing is to watch out for those red squares. Anytime a red square appears, you've got to get out of the way because you're going to take a lot of damage if you do stand in the way. Get out of the way, just get out of the way, you don't want to get hit. Next up, understanding class relationships. As you can see in this scenario here, so I'm facing off against some champions, 2 of which have a green icon to them, and that means that they are nature. And also there are 2 on the enemy team that are light. And even though the light side of things doesn't really matter, if we had dark and light, they kind of balance one another, they're equal. But the problem that I've got is I've got 2 water types on my team, and also the enemy has 2 nature types. This means that 2 of my champions are going to be not as effective and weaker against these 2 grass types. So this loadout may not be quite good in the scenario like it is now. It will be good to have more fire types against the nature types. And that kind of loosely explains the way that different kind of classes work with one another. And the other one, which I haven't mentioned, is that, well, fire gets put out by water, so therefore water is better against fire. One thing that I find really interesting to find out how things are working with my champions is by hitting the top right hand corner of the screen after a battle, as you get the battle report. In the battle report you get statistics about who's doing the most damage, who's healing, shielding, and the buffs and debuffs that are being applied, and who's getting them. But the main thing is damage, and that's what I want to see. As you can see here, we've got the Water Spearman actually doing the most damage, which is expected. The Water Spearman is a very popular and go-to beginner champion for players in order to get through lots of difficult content, and as you can see, dishes out a lot of damage at the same time, has done some healing and shielding. Those statistics are very important, and you can then shape around your team who is doing the best, who you want to then change, what's working, what's not, do you have a good rounded amount of class? You know, you can ask those questions and get those answers. The next thing to look out for when it comes to champions is synergy traits. If you click on skills, go to the far right hand corner, some have them, some don't, and this synergy trait is quite cool. So for the Spearman, he gets increased attack of all ally champions by 25%. Also, the same thing can be said for the Astromancer, who has at the end of it, the synergy is increase attack speed of all champions by 19%. There's a lot of other different synergy traits in the game. Some that are going to be beneficial, some that are going to reduce down cooldown times. There's a whole host of different ones that are going to be beneficial for all of your team when you're facing off against stuff in adventure or any other aspect of the game. Next up, we've got the black market. There's loads of different things here, from champions to gear to discs. It's got it all. You can expand by buying new slots. The black market does refresh after a time, so there's going to be changes to this. So if there's something that you want and really need, then get it there whilst it's still there. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait a while for it to come round. Next up, understanding gear. This is one thing that I've made several mistakes on when I first started playing, and this is something I'm learning and I need to get right. So as you can see, gear recommendations right up here is quite important. As you can see with the Water Spearman, it says about the Vampiric and also the Vital gear. Now I do have Vital gear on this particular champion, obviously learning my lesson, but at the same time I have to aim, and hopefully at one point I can get Vampiric gear that's going to improve this guy exponentially. Next thing is other particular champions have the same thing. So this particular bounty hunter, it says that I should try and get brutal and also vital. Now I probably do have that somewhere, but I need to ship it over, and it may not be the best thing to transfer it over, but you know, you got to learn your lessons really and understand how the gearing system works and how you can get those better stats that are going to improve all of your different champions when you're going off against difficult content. So gear is so important. As you can see here, reading this, it says precise, the one to the left, says brutal, the one to the far left says keen. So then you have a look. You have a look at what the champion recommends for gear, and then you add that gear on. Granted, you may not have that type of gear, but at the same time, you can try and piece together a gear set for a certain type of champion in order to get that recommended boost to the stats. And as you can see here, I fiddled around with something and got those stats improved. So we've got the 4 brutals in place, 4 bits of brutal gear that have given us plus 35% attack, and then we've also had the 2 vital in for a little while, so it means that I've always had the plus 15% on max health, and that's really the scheme of things. I've got to learn my lesson with this. I've got to make sure that I do this in future, so hopefully learn from my mistakes. Next up is missions. I kind of overlook this and I just kind of get into the game, get into the grind, and sometimes don't take any consideration to this stuff because, you know, you've got missions, daily quests, you've got achievements, and in the right hand corner you've got a guide, so the game does provide you with another kind of like guide to it, which is great. And as you can see, there's quite a few things that I've done. I'm just going to go through, claim a load of these things. It's really great to see this type of game kind of giving back, and it kind of really gets you into the game from a grind perspective to know that from completing a lot of these dailies, you're getting some gear, you're getting some helpful things, you're going to be progressing through the game, you're getting more energy. It's great overall. Now, I'd just like to say a big thank you again to Gameloft and Dungeon Hunter Champions for sponsoring this video. If you do want a more in-depth guide of any different subject in the game, then you can do by hitting the missions icon and going to the far right hand corner. It'll come up with guide, and there's loads of subsections, as you can see here, that's going to give you handy tidbits of information that's going to help you through the game. So that's been the video. If you like what you saw and you want to download the game, go to the link in the description and hit the download button for Dungeon Hunter Champions. I've been Rich the Man, and I shall catch you on the flip side. Bye bye for now.